So, where do I begin? So I want to give some commentary over the last two videos I posted, but I think this is more important, so I'm going to do this first. So I had this, as I was sitting here the other night, I was working on a couple projects I'm working on, and I've been having, a lot more visions and stuff, and just things coming to me lately. And I had this word come to me, Kushner, and it took a second for me to realize what it meant, but I was shown Kushner as the Antichrist, and the way I seen him was with black paint over his eyes, immediately followed by what would represent a vampire to me, somebody with like teeth like a vampire. Vampire also comes up behind you. Usually in the movies, they have them, they bite your neck from behind, you know, um, as a trusted advisor, behind you, speaking in your ear. Just, that whole, it fits him to me. And the way I'm just going to read the notes that I wrote. I was writing it down as it was happening. Images of destruction. Well, that's what happened. I seen all these images first that were just flashing in my mind of destruction, and then I seen a black horse that looked very streamlined that was coming toward me on my left side, and it had one eye. It would have been its left eye. It was on my left side coming toward me, the left eye facing me, and it had one eye that was in a half crescent shape, and underneath the eye looked like the eclipse that I have described in a couple of these different visions. So, hang on, I'm gonna have to continue. My baby's up here. Hello. What are you doing, baby? What are you doing? You just wake up. You're a little wobbly. Come here. Oh, come here. Oh. I'm tired. I'm tired, baby. He just came stumbling in with his bottle.
Come on, Mommy's gonna make you something to eat.
You wanna go with Mommy and get something to eat? There's pizza. So, immediately I also had the word DEFCON 1, and then approximation 365, and then read this. Then something, a voice that said, first of all, the guy said there's going to be questions, and then had a vision of bread, and then the word Eucharist, followed by a vision of water purifying tablets, and then the term gift of gab, then Veggie Tales. I don't know where that came from. I was watching Veggie Tales with my baby the other night, and it was speaking of Sodom and Gomorrah. But then there was a round bale of hay. Well, there was a spiral. It was a round bale of hay that looked like a spiral. That keeps this horse. There's more to this horse that I've got to talk about, but Then I can't read my writing. Something vision. And then eternal flame. There was like a flame burning at the end that gave me the impression eternal flame. Then pre-tounce post. I spelled it Pretownse. Pre-tounce, not pretense. Maybe it was pre. It came to me pre-tounce, even though it would be pretense to me. So pre-tounce post. Nantucket and the Nantucket nectar. Not quite sure about that. A sigil wolf, and then go away, run away, and then a fisheye. Now, after this, or no, before all this took place, there was a voice that said, I don't want money. I am not going to be able to cross the human mind, followed by a white wolf. And then the images of destruction and all that. So as I said, this is, there's a lot of symbolic stuff here, and things that mean certain things to me that are symbolic. So, following all of this, I had this phrase come to me. Sir Croix Ipu, or IPU, SER, then CROIX, then IPU. So I've never heard that phrase before. To me, it sounds like Latin, and I looked it up. So I'm just going to do it here with you now, because I didn't prepare really. Now, sir, it just so happens I come from Portuguese. To be, and it relates to essence, origin, or physical description. So, also here it has sermon, sir, definition of sir. There. But then we have Croix, crooks, which means a cross shape or heraldry, a representation of a cross. The cross is a heraldic symbol. These are just some different meanings for it, apparently. And then Ipu, P-U. What does it stand for? International Psychoanalytic University in Berlin. Invisible Pink Unicorn, the goddess of parody and religion aimed at satirizing theistic beliefs. Interparliamentary Union, Interconnecting Processing Unit, International Pop Underground Convention, Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit. An unconfirmed division in the U.S. government rumored to be involved with UFOs. So that piqued my interest a little. And but there's more. I mean, honestly, I don't know what the hell IPU means. I'm just looking with you guys, trying to get an idea. I don't know what the hell this is I just stumbled on, but this is pretty interesting. I'm gonna have to check this out. Okay, so as I just went to the Wiktionary Wikipedia definition of IPU, I start reading through it just to see how this may be relevant, and it says that it's an IPU gourd. It is a percussion instrument made from gourds that's often used to provide a beat for hula dancing. IPU gourd plays a large role in Hawaiian life. More than just an instrument, the IPU is used for food, medicine, and a variety of other useful items. Because of the importance of IPU to basic life and culture, Hawaiians developed an entire ceremony around the planting of the gourd. In Hawaiian customs, the gourd plant should be planted on the night of the hua during the lunar phase. Now watch this. Where it was believed to look the most like an egg or a fruit. The gourd should be planted done by a pot-bellied man who has just eaten a large meal to stretch his stomach. The pot-bellied man must take the seeds and carry them if he was already a fully grown and heavy gourd. The man would drop the seed into the hole he had dug for, where he'd suddenly push his hands apart with his palms facing upwards. The reason for this is the Hawaiians believed that his palms were to face downward and would cause the gourd to twist and shrivel. After the seed was buried, the following chant would be recited. A huge IPU growing like a mountain to be carried on the back. Really huge is this gourd. So, there's a couple things that strike me relative to me. Firstly, I was just watching Curious George with my son, and the one part in Curious George 3, I believe it is, the movie, where George, takes the spaceship and goes to outer space on this mission to stop the flooding, okay? And he's trying to get this thing in to stop the floodgates in Africa and all this flooding theme. So as they're going to the jungle, there's this part in the movie where there's all these wild gourds growing everywhere. So George is hiding in the wild gourds from the man, the yellow hat. And there's a lot of references to George about an asteroid that's coming to hit, and like just all this subliminal crazy stuff. I'm gonna actually tape a few things that I've just been noticing, and I'm posting sometime. But I mean, it's whatever. Just so you can see, my son came and set this up here. This is a gourd. Ironically enough, you're in the video. Pretty wild. So anyway, I just seen the gourd in the movie like a couple days ago, and I had a second thought about it. Like, it just seemed familiar to me for some reason. And I just thought about it, like, for whatever. I just I thought twice about it for whatever reason. So then we come to this. I just seen this lunar phase, and immediately upon opening this is what I see. The moon doing this. And as you all know, there's this eclipse coming up. But not only that, but as I just said, that this black horse streamline coming towards me on the left side with one eye with half a crescent shape underneath that looked like the eclipse that I had in the vision that I keep talking about. So one more thing I had to add in. We're on the next day now. I finished all this morning. Went to sleep, woke up, went to the doctor, came home. So now I'm listening to this, getting ready to publish it, and it occurred to me that this black horse that I'm talking about, over and over, seeing that came on my left side, with the eye with the eclipse. As I had said something about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, well, this was a dark horse, and the dark horse had an eclipse in its eye. So that is 100% significant and a sign about this eclipse. But not only that, But right after that, I was talking about this sigil wolf, the wolf thing. It's somewhere in here, and I spoke about how the Mandela effect changed the one verse in the Bible that used to say the lion and the lamb. Now it says the lion and the wolf shall lay down together. Well, ironically enough, we're going into Leo. We're going into the lion for this eclipse. So, there's just a couple more things that just occurred to me that I had to throw in here. So, without doubt, these are confirmations to me. The timer has begun, or this from this eclipse. The countdown has begun. And I think they're like biblical confirmations of the great sign which this eclipse is heralding. Um, it's these visions that I had specifically drew my attention to this, and the more I run it through my head, the more connections and correlations I'm seeing and making. So, I mean, it's all little tiny things, but it's amazing. It's like every little aspect fits in, from what I'm seeing to what is taking place and what has been foretold. And also, I'm wondering if this um, IPU, it's just driving me crazy. I can't figure it out, but like I said, usually it's because I haven't received another set of messages yet that shed light on what it means. But I'm trying to learn how to distinguish what these things mean beforehand rather than the event passing. But regardless, all the stuff with Guam that I was just talking about, and Trump, and all this shit that's going on, I'm wondering if it's calling my attention to Hawaii, because it was talking about Hawaiians and da 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 da, the planting of the gourd, and then the gourd synchronicities that keep happening and all this stuff, which to me the gourd symbolizes something that it says in the Hawaiian culture, and then all the synchronizations that are occurring centered around this gourd. Stupid as it sounds, I'm starting to wonder if it means something to do with Hawaii, because Guam, is right up the ocean from Hawaii, and Hawaii was what was attacked in World War II with Pearl Harbor, and that's also a part of the United States. That's I would consider if they're gonna attack Guam, why wouldn't they attack Hawaii? So I guess look out for something down there. I may be wrong. I may be misinterpreting it, and I'm just gonna leave it alone for now. But I mean that's just what I've been kicking around. But anyway, it's kind of slow for the next 20 minutes or whatever. But towards the end, there's a lot of good information. I just I like I said, I spaced this first part over a couple days, so sorry to keep cutting in. I know the pain in the ass. You're probably like, shut the fuck up already. But like I said, there's a lot of good stuff coming up, so just be patient. So here is this boom. This is the image. As it gets to the end, this is the image I keep seeing. This eclipse image. This is the image I keep seeing. But right there, just that little bit, boom, right there, where the only little bit is revealed, the crescent shape. So the lunar phase or phase of the moon is the shape of the illuminated sunlit portion of the moon as seen by an observer on Earth. Lunar phase changes cyclically as the moon orbits the Earth, according to changed positions of the moon and the sun relative to the Earth. The moon's rotation is tidally locked by the Earth's gravity, therefore the same lunar surface always faces the Earth. Now what's funny is it says this right here about the dark side of the moon. Okay? So going back, in the video I posted a couple months back talking about the book that Ingo Swann wrote about how he remote viewed the dark side of the moon as one of his locations or one of his projects for the government, and he said that he's seen this race of beings there that were a male race, and they were dark skinned and all this stuff, and that's the exact same race that I seen in my vision. And I had never heard another reference to this male race on the dark side of the moon ever before, other than in my vision. And then when I read his book, I was just astonished, like, holy shit, like, the top, the teacher of the remote viewing program seen the same thing that I seen. So that's why, this is significant. So the synchronization I'm talking about, with the eating and the full stomach and the pot-bellied man, the dark side of the moon, that's the confirmation of the vision that I had of these dark-skinned beings that are on the dark side of the moon, with these pot bellies, and that I keep talking about. And it says the gourd should be planted, done by a pot-bellied man who has just eaten a large meal. So these, as crazy as this sounds, this is how these messages like come through. So anyway, we just ordered pizza and some Mexican or some rice and beans and steak tips and green peppers and onions. So I indulged a little bit more than I usually do. So I ate, a couple pieces of pizza and this food. So like my stomach is huge and I don't ever eat that much. I only eat small portions, now and then. So anyway, I just ate a large meal and it feels like my stomach is stretching. So anyway, this planted by a pot-bellied man. So I just want to point out this is an example of the synchronicities that I'm always talking about. So I'm not talking about myself. I'm just talking about how this synchronization is a confirmation of what I'm talking about, of the subject that I'm talking about. This is how these synchronicities play out all day long. This is the type of stuff. I just wanted to point this out so you guys understand like the type of stuff I'm talking about. These are the synchronizations that I'm talking about. Like for me to read this at this exact point with these things synchronizing with it is just, the chances are not even possible. Like, as stupid as this sounds and as stupid as these things are, what they're synchronizing to and confirming for me is the subject matter, which is this race of beings with the potbellies, the invasion. So I mean, this is like this is the type of stuff that you guys got to look for. This is what I'm talking about. I just wanted to point this out because this is an exact example of what I mean by things synchronizing as confirmations. And like I said, as stupid and as trivial as it sounds, I mean, this is the way it works with everything all the time. I mean, every different type of situation you can fathom. This is important because in my visions, when I talk about, because the video that I was just talking about that I wanted to do, based on the two posts that I had just posted that I haven't done a follow-up yet, is about this whole invasion theory that it's not even a theory, this whole invasion thing that I keep talking about. And as I said in my vision, the race of beings were dark-skinned with pot bellies. They had big bellies and they were wearing black suits. And it was when the reversal happened, and the magnetic field was down, and everybody's memory had been erased, and they were going around looking for the people that hadn't been that hadn't lost their memory or their consciousness, and they were reprogramming people and all this stuff. So like I said, it was a male race that had pot bellies. I mean, there's no other relevance to me that has. So, and as I said, this male, as I talked about in another video, with this male race that lives on the dark side of the moon, or it's just I understand this sounds crazy, but this is crazy. So anyway, the Sir, now, as I said, these things mean multiple things. So this phrase, Sir Croix IPU. Sir means to be, or it means of or from, or the essence of, or the origin. So we have the essence of, the origin from Sir, or to be, and then Croix, which means heraldry or a cross. So this eclipse that's coming up is heralding, or it's crossing, and I mean, this just goes so many different ways. I'm just going to try to break it down for what I mean. It also says in French that means a cross of war. One thing that caught my attention was this DEFCON 1 DEFCON 1 approximation 365. Now, there's only one way I can interpret that. As I said, I didn't know about this eclipse until, just a couple months ago. And I keep talking about this timeline of events that I've seen in my visions. Starting with the 4th of July, looking at the fireworks and the fireworks turning into UFOs, and then, the snake splitting the screen in half with the war and the comet and all the different things. Now, if you've been watching the videos, a number of those things have already manifested and happened, except for the UFOs, obviously, and the comet and the war. So there's only one way to interpret this. DEFCON 1 approximation 365. And then after that I said, first of all, guys said there's going to be questions. Bread, Eucharist, water purifying tablets. So if this is, there's only one way I can interpret this. The water purifying is the purification, okay? So as in the Bible, it states that there's this great sign, that occurs before all this takes place. And the great sign, last year or 2 years ago, when we just had the tetrad, the 4 blood red moons leading up to all these events. It very clearly states in the Bible about these blood red moons going into this eclipse with, the constellation, with the alignment, with the 12 stars, and, the whole spiel. A lot of you guys know. So, and as I said, my birthday just so happened to be the 3rd blood red moon. Literally, Easter. So, that's another, significant thing that I talk about, because, like I said, Christ, I have some type of connection to this Christ. It's just like I've said in other videos, there's just too many amazing coincidences, from my name to the birthday being born on the day of, till next year I'm 33, the age of Christ, like all these things. So taking all these things into account, I have to say that I believe that the sign that this eclipse heralds, and it just started thundering outside when I started saying this. Wow. Talk about divine providence. So this eclipse is the great sign, and these events can't happen until after the great sign heralds this coming. And again, herald. That was what this whole Perth thing that I was just talking about. It was this the herald, the sun herald is what it was. What it was. You got to go watch the video. But it was the herald, and then this another thing. This Sir Croix Ipu. Croix means heraldry or cross, heralding. Holy shit! I couldn't make this stuff up if I'm not this smart. Like I couldn't I just wow. So it says right here on the frickin' piece of paper, Sir Croix Ipu, to be heralded. Sir means to be, or of, from, essence, origin. Croix means heraldry or cross. And then in French it means cross of war. So, unfreaking believable. I mean, this message is just unreal. Like, like I said, it's a matter of understanding the terms to how you interpret these things. So, as I said, DEFCON 1 Approximation 365. This great sign is heralding the upcoming events. So I know I said from July to December, and I'm still saying July to December. But this conscious fear that we have, and the urgency in which I've been shown, and the urgency of the events coming to me, you know, I'm not going to lie, I thought last year and then this year. But none of these other signs were taken into account. That was my own conscious thinking. So without doubt, and like I said, I was never given a date. And it says the date and time shall not be known. It's never given a date. It was given a time frame. I was given a set of events and a time of year. So DEFCON 1 Approximation 365 to me can't get any clearer. Okay? Now, if you watched my original first video, the original point in time that I stated for when I see these events is August into September. And that's why I said July to December, because August, September is the midway. September, namely. I mean, August going into September. But that's the point in time. So, as I said, I didn't have these other signs. Like I didn't know about this eclipse. I didn't know about, you know, certain things, and I didn't realize, you know, that these things, you know, were so accurately told in the scripture. Like it just blows my mind the precision that is in the Bible. Like I didn't come up with this stuff to correspond to the Bible. This stuff just so happens to correspond to the Bible because it is the word. This is prophecy. This is the real deal. So DEFCON 1 Approximation 365 tells me that we have 1 year. I mean, it's as simple as that. This eclipse with these set of events is the herald, the heraldry, as it says right here. First of all, guys said there's going to be questions. I mean, that's pretty vague, but of course there's going to be questions. I mean, that's just what I wrote down. But then bread, Eucharist, water purifying tablets, gift of gab, Veggie Tales. Now, I'm just going to break down how I interpret each one of these. So DEFCON 1, I would interpret to be the highest alert that there is, apparently, in the nation. Approximation 365, self-explanatory. First of all, guy said there's going to be questions. I mean, that's I'll leave that open. Bread, Eucharist, the body of Christ. I mean, it specifically says bread, the body of Christ, the body of Christ. And then water purifying tablets afterwards, the body of Christ, the great purifier. Like, wow. I had to cut in right here because I just realized this when I was saying it too. It says bread Eucharist, or when I'm looking at the way it's spelled, it says Eucharist. I mean, Charist, Eucharist, or my name's in there, ironically enough. So bread, body of you, Christ, purifying. As I said, these things mean multiple things at once. It's not just, one thing. Oftentimes there's multiple synchronicities and things that these mean. These mean, different things from all different levels of consciousness, just like the emerald tablets. But bread, Eucharist, Eucharist, and then purifying. So purify the body as well. So this means purify the body, or the Christ body, which is, what I'm speaking of. So I just had to throw that in there because, wow. Gift of gab, the gift of gab, the gift of speech, the gift of speech, teaching. It's self-explanatory. VeggieTales. As I said, I just watched VeggieTales with my son the other night, and the whole VeggieTales thing was about Sodom and Gomorrah and the destruction specifically of Sodom. I'm pretty sure the city was, they were talking about the Sodomites, and they something about fish. Holy shit! I didn't even think about that. It says fish eye at the end. So Sodom and Gomorrah and VeggieTales got destroyed, and the Sodomites were something. They smacked people with fish. That's what it was. They because it's a kids movie, so they smack people with fish and hit people with fish. I mean, that's what it is in the movie. So anyway, meaning the United States are receiving the Lord's judgment, just like the eclipse is basically X marks the spot on the United States. Right? So Sodom and Gomorrah, and then this round bales of hay, horse, and then I have dad vision in parentheses. Round bales of hay, the horses, the four horsemen, four horsemen, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, man. Then eternal flame. It's pretty self-explanatory. Pre-tounce post. I don't know. Pre-tounce post. Tounce. I'm gonna have to look up what tounce means. Nantucket nectar. I don't know if that was just a little bit of, what do they call it in remote viewing? Feedback. Like just my own conscious thought coming into it, or I don't know if that was part of the message or not. There's question marks after it. It may be relevant. I'm not 100% sure. So Nantucket nectar. Nectar. Mana. Nectar. Nectar to me would mean mana. Mana is the nectar of the gods, they call it. Mana. Bread. Eucharist. Mana. I don't know. I'm going to have to look at that more. And then sigil wolf. As I said, this wolf, like I talk about my other visions. I had this Indian elder, this Native American elder, present himself to me, one of my spirit guides, and his face was the color of the rainbow that looked like the layers of rocks. Like you look at a sheared rock face, and the rock has different layers in it that are different colors from the years. His face looked like that, but every layer was the color of the rainbow. So I was told basically I am Spirit Hawk of the Wolf Clan. Like that's the name they gave me, as far out as that sounds. I mean, that's my totem. I'm a hawk, and this whole this is just what I was told. I mean, Spirit Hawk of the Wolf Clan. So anyway, sigil wolf, and then go away, run away, and then fisheye. The fisheye, I mean, go away, run away is pretty self-evident. The fisheye represents to me, Jesus, the eye. I mean, there's the all-seeing, eye, and then there's, well, I don't know if maybe it's, but the eye of good, Jesus. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of meditating on that as well. But anyway, then there's this. I think this came in the beginning of all of it. I don't want money. I am not going to be able to cross the human mind. I don't know what the hell that means. I really don't know. But anyway, so this set of visions runs together with all the other ones. I mean, like I said, if you watch that video that has the string of visions that I posted where I talk about, I'm going to have to, I guess, find it and then put the link in the description below. That way you can go and listen, because there was a lot of important things that I said in there. And this was the first time I really sat down and channeled to where I wrote it down as it came to me, or I didn't write it down, I spoke it. As soon as I started, realizing what was taking place, I hit record and I just spoke from my heart. I just spoke as the visions came into my mind, not as I thought of them, as they came to me, as I received them. That's the difference. That's how this works. When you receive, when you take direction, when you listen, not when you force it and you conjure it with your own mind. So as I said, we are entering this eclipse is the beginning. I mean, this eclipse is the herald. This is the herald of what's to come. And in this, basically, I mean, just to explain it how I perceive it, I perceive it like this. When this giant magnet that's coming around, or planet, system, spaceship, there's so much, out there about it. I was shown a comet, okay? They call it the comet planet. So they say that it's more like a comet than, the system is more like a comet. So, that's just the way I perceive it. It's called the comet planet. So I seen that literally in my vision. But as I said, this comet came screaming in, and right before it hit, and oddly enough, it went across the United States just like this eclipse is, but it was the opposite way that the eclipse is coming. I was given a path from Philadelphia to like somewhere out west by like Nevada or Colorado or somewhere out by like Nevada. It started with like a U or a W or something. I can't remember what the exact name of the town was, but I was given a specific town name, but I just can't remember it. I couldn't remember it. So anyway, when this, these specific events, unfold. So basically this system reverses the rotation of the Earth. Okay, it's like what I just showed with the, or maybe I don't know where I'm going to put this in this video because I'm just piecing this together, but there's a part in this video where it shows how the ocean receded on the eastern, on the Atlantic side of South America, and how it's surging on the Pacific side. And I had made a comment that would happen if a giant magnet, pulled the Earth, if the Earth is being pulled by something, that would cause, if the Earth was being pulled counterclockwise, which is our rotation, faster, would cause, imagine it in 3D. If the Earth is spinning and then something, grabs a hold of it and pulls it a little bit faster, just gives it that little bit of jerk, it would cause the water to slosh away and roll around the Earth. So, when this system comes in, I believe that by its gravitational force, its magnetic pull, its interaction with the Earth that's been heating up our mantle, well, not our mantle, but it's been heating up the energy, the vortex that's within the Earth, and causing the Earth to basically, have all these Yellowstone, all these volcanoes, earthquakes, all this stuff that's taking place. The Earth is constantly expanding, and when it passes us, it's going to reverse the magnetic field, okay? Or not the magnetic field, it's going to reverse the rotation. And when the rotation reverses, imagine our magnetic field is going around the Earth, okay? Our Earth is spinning counterclockwise. Now the magnetic field is because the Earth is spinning counterclockwise. So the magnetic field, the polarity, is a certain direction. Now if the Earth were to stop spinning that direction, stop, and spin the other direction, then that magnetic field would also have to adjust. So it would stop as well and reverse polarity and start spinning the other direction before it came back online. So in that period between, in the null zone, in the 0-point gravity spot, in the middle, in the point between, is the 3 days of darkness and the 3 days, or the 3 days of darkness that I speak about, that it speaks about in the Bible, that has been misinterpreted so many times. It's not speaking of an eclipse. It's speaking of this point in time when the Earth reverses its rotation, and when the magnetic field goes down, our memories go with it. Okay, our memory is completely dependent on the magnetic field. If there was no magnetic field, you would have no memory. And because our body is run, your thoughts are biochemical electrical signals. Your nervous system is an electric grid. It's a biochemical electrical grid. Everything, synapses, from the point a thought is conceived, that spark is electricity and is governed by the dynamics of electricity. And just like a magnetic vector, when it's positive and negative. I mean, it all comes down to positive and negative. And our bodies are in sync with the Earth because we are of the Earth. Your feet ground you out and it goes to the top. We're connected to the sun. And the Earth is connected to the sun. And when this reversal takes place, when the shield goes down, we're going to be basically that's it. Our shield is down. We're going to be exposed to, a whole multitude of things. And this is the point in time when this race takes advantage, because there will be no defense against this other than those that are being awakened for this spiritual war that has taken place. And as I was shown in my vision, I talk about the 0-point gravity vision, where I was standing there and we're at my wife's mother's house, and I see this camper come floating overhead, and I look up in the sky and I see this camper floating through the sky like there's no gravity. And I heard everybody around me saying 0-point gravity, 0-point gravity. And I thought to myself, shit, we gotta go. So we jump in the car We start driving down the road. I had a baby with me. Again, both of these visions, I had babies with me. I had a baby with me before my son was conceived. And we jump in the car. We start heading down the road. And 0 point gravity was moving the same way the sun's horizon does across the earth, the shadow of the sun. Okay? And we're trying to stay in front of it. And we're driving, and as it hit us, I veered off the road towards the right-hand side into the stream. And as soon as I hit the stream, I was bracing for the impact, and it never came. I had my shoulder down, just speeding through time, space, whatever, through a black hole. I don't know what the hell it was. I was just speeding through nothingness faster than I could fathom, with my shoulder down, bracing for the impact, waiting to hit something. And I got to the other side, and I never hit anything. I got to the other side, and I stopped, and I was watching myself on this screen. And this woman that was wearing a white suit that looked human, but she had a tail, was teaching me how to fight. And she was teaching me how to basically, it was like some type of Matrix type stuff. Like, she was teaching me how to fight the forces of evil. And that's when there was a little bit more to it, and that's when it went from that scene to the next scene, which was these huge UFOs that looked like shipping containers landing all around. And they were big, like, square shipping containers, they look like, with the doors open, the hatches in the front opened up like big bays. And there was just rows of seats. And all the people were brainwashed by 0 point gravity. They all have their memories wiped. And I was in this row of people that was, standing at attention, basically, for this race of alien beings that didn't look like green men or nothing. They were dark-skinned. They were short. They were shorter. They were about 5 foot in stature, or 5 foot in height, heavy stature, and like I said, they had these bellies, and it was a male race, and they were wearing these black suits that were like body gloves. They fit the body, every contour, and their appendages were hanging out like it was like a latex suit that fit the body, to a T, like the body, like tailor-made to the body, and it represented some sort of defilement to me. Some sort of just ugh. And they were going, like I said, down the row of people with this device, and doing this telepathic response test to everybody. And as I said, as it came to me, I responded the way I knew everybody else was, and everybody else was essentially zombies. And that's what I keep talking about in the movies. They're pushing this a zombie apocalypse. Like, zombies have never been more prevalent in TV or anything. Like, it's just this huge push on zombies for some reason. And I mean, that's what I seen. Everybody was a zombie. And there's these select few of us that now I don't know if this is, yeah, we're physical. I was a physical being. It was like it was physically happening to us. It wasn't like us in like light body form or spiritual form. This was like something physical that was taking place. And that was that. They went around, they were reprogramming everybody's consciousness into some sort of slave. And the whole gist of it was that, there's this war that's taking place, and some of us are here to awaken others and to basically try to teach, those that can hear the word, how to utilize this. So when this happens, you need to be able to basically think without your conscious thought. Now, I know that's kind of a hard thing to fathom. How do you think without thinking? But that's exactly what I've been learning to do, and that's exactly how this ability works, is without your conscious mind. When you silence your mind and you turn everything off that's going through your mind all day long, and you start living in the now moment without a memory, that's when you start getting these abilities. That's how I use these abilities. That's where I get this information. That's how this works. And your conscious mind does nothing. Your conscious mind is like the devil. It's no good. It's just full of ego and lust and antichrist. And once we learn to shut off our conscious thought or our conscious desire, and we start controlling ourselves from a higher plane, you got to understand, we're like robots. We're like a machine. Your identity is completely made up. You think you're somebody you're not. You are basically higher consciousness that's operating this avatar. I mean, it's that simple. We are avatars. And you need to be able to detach from your avatar at will and be able to control your avatar like a machine, like a robot in a game. Okay? And cut yourself off from desire, because desire is going to effectively keep you trapped inside this avatar that's speeding out of control. Okay? So when you are able to separate yourself from this avatar while you're conscious of it, your soul is going to learn how to do that. And that's how you retain consciousness. That's how you retain individuality on the next level. That's how you ascend. Okay? This is how you ascend. And ultimately, it comes down to being able to reverse your heartbeat. As I've said in other videos, the only thing that keeps us alive is the fear of death. Okay? So when you learn to start breathing the opposite way and to stop fearing death and to embrace it, it's called the death of ego from the research that I've done. I mean, that's as close to what a description as I can give of it. And when you learn to embrace that, and to kill yourself off. I mean, I'm not suicidal, I'm not homicidal. But I mean, this is what it is. When you learn to kill off your ego or your consciousness or who you think you are, that's the ultimate test. That's the ultimate sacrifice. That's what Jesus did. Okay? That is how we become ascended beings. That is how we become Christ. When we learn to sacrifice this lower consciousness for our higher consciousness and integrate all aspects of ourself, our true self, into our higher self. And my biggest problem with that right now is that I have love in this world that can't anything convince my conscious mind doesn't exist. And as I've talked about in other videos, love, from everything that you've been taught, love is not what you think it is. And love doesn't need to be directed or focused. Love is our natural state. So when you say love, to love somebody or to love something is to do nothing, because that's how we exist naturally. Anytime you have to subject somebody or something to your love, that's not love. You're subjecting them to your ego. You're subjecting them to your own desires. Because as I said, love is our natural state that we exist in without doing anything. The only thing that you have a conscious ability to do on this earth is apply a negative. Okay? You can disagree. You don't have to believe it. I mean, like I said, I've been given this information by something higher than myself. And even though I don't agree with everything I've been shown, I can't disagree because I know nothing. Like, I know nothing. And I now know that I know nothing. And for all the worldly and intellectual knowledge that I've gathered, and for as smart as I thought that I was, it all means nothing because it is nothing. I never understood that to have true intelligence or true knowledge is not to assimilate it physically into my conscious mind. It's to reach for it at will without wanting it, if you can understand what I'm saying. In other words, like when I speak from my heart. I pull it out of nothing. I pull it out of something that I don't try to force. It's like a river that keeps flowing that never ends, and it's there for me whenever I need it, to call on. And that's the same thing with all of our actions. There's everything. It's all there all the time for us to call upon whenever we need. Not with our conscious mind, but with our subconscious or with our spirit. And when the only thing that your conscious mind can do is basically like for example, if you need to make a decision about something, you instantly have the right decision. You instantly know the right answer. You instantly have that intuition, that feeling. You know what to do. But then your conscious mind steps in and says, well, maybe I should do it this way because I can get this, or this might happen, or so on and so forth. You argue with yourself based on your desires, your interests, your needs, and a whole multitude of things. Your conscious mind, your devil, argues with you about, what you should do and why you should do it. Even though that first decision, first instinct that came to you was the right thing to do, you still question it and look for a better result through your consciousness. Now, those are the demons coming through. That is the devil coming through, the negative. That is your self-will. That is the Lucifer experiment, us taking our will back. That is, that is not having obedience to God or to us or to self. And this is the problem that I've spoke about it before. This is the problem that these Luciferians, they've been passed all this knowledge, and they look at themselves, they look at this fight as a fight against the masters. And it's there's these books that were published called The Golden Compass and The Amber Spyglass, and I forget the other one, but you may remember the big polar bear with the little girl Lyra. They made a movie about it, The Golden Compass, some years back, and it was actually banned. It was banned. Look it up on Google, whatever. I suggest reading these books because these books are unbelievable. They have the exact truth in them. But these books were banned because they said that it shouldn't be in the realm for children to read and all this crap, and it was because it was in a fantasy like, it was written like a fantasy, but it was pretty damn accurate. And the whole thing was about how these angels, the archangel's name is Metatron, and how Metatron, basically had rebelled from God, and how they were basically keeping God captive, and just this whole crazy thing, but how they were influencing it. It talks about all the different dimensions, and each dimension you have a daemon, is called, where it's, wow, ironically enough, your daemon in Lyra's world is an animal that best fits your personality. And that's how I see things. Coincidentally enough, I never even made this association, but it's a daemon. And like, one person, like, one person's more like an eagle, so his soul is tied to him as his daemon, and it's in the form of an eagle. And up until you hit puberty, your demon has no solid shape. It can change shapes, and once you hit puberty, your demon or your daemon, it basically solidifies into whatever shape is your personality. And some people are dogs, some people are monkeys, some people are wolves, some people are eagles, some people are rats, some people are snakes. Everybody has their daemon. That's in Lyra's world. In another dimension, people's daemons are inside of them, like us, our soul. And it's just all these different things. But what they're getting at is like it's a pretty profound book. I mean, but the point is that they call it the authority, and it talks about how the angels were trying to rebel from God or the authority, and they were holding him captive because God is in its essence, love and peace, not the spiteful, angry God that it speaks of in the Bible that has been, twisted and all this other. God is the essence of love. It's the spring of beauty. It's the rosebud that's constantly blooming forward in perfect creation that is everything. That's what it's the sum of. It's the sum of perfection, and it's only distorted. I mean, God grows in perfection eternally. It is us, our conscious mind, that distorts it, and that uses it for evil or for bad things, which in the overall picture there really is no such thing as evil, because everything must exist. There must be two sides of the coin for us to even exist here. We wouldn't even be having this conversation if it wasn't for the positive and the negative, if there was only positive. But I mean, you understand what I'm saying, for simplicity. And I forgot to say what the point of the book is they're trying to. They got these things called the grabbers or something like that, and it's basically the government that's going around snatching all the children, and the gobblers is what they call them, and the gobblers are taking the children to a base in Antarctica where they're performing these experiments trying to separate the children from their daemon or from their soul, because it's at the moment that the soul of the daemon solidifies into its permanent form at puberty that sin is created. So the church is behind all this. This is in this children's book. So the church is behind all this, and they have these assassins that are out hunting, Lyra and people that are trying to help her, Lee, whatever the hell his name is, and this bear. And the church's assassin is out hunting them, trying to kill them, because Lyra overheard a conversation by the ministers, or the people that run. Basically, her uncle is this high-ranking scientist, an explorer, that finds a bridge between the universes in Antarctica. And him and this real rich lady, and that have this thing going on, and he's trying to basically. They found out that when they can use a soul to cross over a child's soul that has been separated, its essence that has been separated from the child. They can use its essence to cross over into this other dimension, and to get from dimension to dimension. And Lyra meets this boy that has oh, that's what the other book is, the the something the subtle blade, and that was exactly at 144. Like, you know, just to emphasize the subtle blade, our minds. It was at 144 before I had to do the editing. Just had to clarify that. Where this boy has this knife that he's able to cut into different realities, and he uses this knife. The way it cuts is he can't have any fear in his mind, and if he takes this knife and in his mind he cuts into a new dimension, but he can't have fear. If he has fear, well, one time he had fear trying to cut in, like he can cut from dimension to dimension with this knife. And one time he tried to cut into this dimension when they were in trouble, and he had fear. And when he reached out with this knife, he went to cut the fabric of like space and time to go into this dimension, and he had fear, and it shattered the knife. So they had to go get the knife repaired, and da 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 da, so they could cut back into their world, and all this crazy stuff. But that knife is a metaphor for our mind. And Lyra, at the beginning, overheard this conversation, in the king's chamber or whatever, with her uncle and all the most important people, the governments and stuff, where they're talking about discovering this stuff called dust. And what they said is that dust is around all of us. We're all made of dust, and dust is what is in the entire galaxy and the universes and everything. And that the dust is more prevalent in children before they go through puberty, before sin is introduced. And then when sin is introduced, the dust settles and becomes solidified, which is a metaphor for anti-gravity, or not anti-gravity, black matter. And the Higgs bosons and all this stuff that they're trying to discover with CERN. I mean, this shit is incredible. Like, this book, you wouldn't believe it. So Lyra discovers what dust is in this meeting, and she's hiding in the closet, and she's not supposed to know what it is. So anyway, her friends get kidnapped by the gobblers, or like the church is now kidnapping all these children and all the shit that's going on. And the kids get taken north, or wherever, to Antarctica, and to this experimentation place where they're cutting these souls from the kids to use as energy to basically open portals and gateways into other dimensions. And they talk about our one friend Roger. He got his soul. He got separated from his daemon, or his soul, and he was just like a zombie. They found him in this house, just crying and, soulless. And so anyway, her friend has this knife that I was talking about, and their job is to basically, there's been a rip or a rift made in the time and space, in the dimensions. There's been a hole cut in the dimensions through, like, it's similar to like the nuclear power when we split atoms and stuff like that. There's been a hole made in the dimensions, and the dust is running. Usually the dust is separated, or the black matter is separated by each dimension. Each different level, each different frequency contains its dust. Well, there's holes now all through the dimensions because of all this experimentation, all this shit that they were doing. And now the dust is pouring into all these different universes that it shouldn't be pouring into. And basically, all the dimensions are starting to collapse because of this dust and these holes that are all throughout the dimensions. So Lyra, this is in a children's book. So Lyra and her friend with the knife have to basically, save the world, and they go to this one dimension where there's these animals that like roll around with this thing, and just all this crazy stuff. But the whole point of it is that everything that's spoken about is exactly what's taking place right now. Like, it'll blow your mind. Like, this book was literally banned. There was a movie made, like lots, like millions of dollars were put into these movies. There's a series. The movie didn't even make it out of the theaters and it was banned. I mean, lots and lots of money. So this was shut down by important people because of how much it exposed. And, go look it up, The Golden Compass. Do some research into this because, I mean, even though this may sound far-fetched, I'm telling you, this is, I've read a lot of intelligent books. This is one of the most, profound books that I've ever read. But anyway, so they're talking about, how, that the church is trying to basically, separate these children's souls because at puberty there's a point that takes place when the soul solidifies because of sin, or in other words, children's imaginations, until they go through puberty, the children's imagination is raw power, it's raw creation. And that's another thing that goes into this whole child sacrificing, and this is exactly what's going on right now. And with the whole Pizzagate and all the stuff that's going on, this is the reason that they're doing this stuff, and it's all explained in this children's book, believe it or not. And so anyway, the whole point is that Lyra they have to go into this other dimension, and there's this huge war that's coming. And all the angels that have rebelled against the authority, and then a couple rebel angels that are trying to help Lyra, and it all mounts towards this big finale where they have this machine that's been created called the Intention Machine. And the Intention Machine is a machine that works on your intention, just like what they're developing right now in the most top secret rooms in the government. An intention machine that is solely moved and worked and everything by your intention. And it also sounds a lot like, if any of you have heard the spirit science video of the human story, or whatever the hell it is, human origins, or the story of creation, or however it's said, where they talk about how Thoth hid this basically UFO, or this vehicle, underneath the Sphinx, I believe it was, either the Sphinx or the pyramid. It's Sphinx, I think. How there's this vehicle there that's four, I think they say it's like either 4 or 6 molecules thick or thin, and it's an intention craft that's able to be called upon by a person of pure intention to use, to defend the earth, or all this stuff. You'll have to go, watch that video. I believe it's called Secret Knowledge, Spirit Science, Sacred Knowledge, or something like that. But anyway, they built this machine called the Intention Machine, and it's exactly like that is described. And they're able to use it, as I said, with their intention, maneuver everything, defense, everything is by your intention. So this Intention Machine is fighting the angels, and like I said, there's this huge war going on to try to free the authority, or to try to free God from the authority. The authority is the bad guys, basically. So they're making it seem like this Metatron, this head angel, took control of everything. And I mean, you just got to read the books. I don't want to blow it for anybody who wants to go read it, but I mean, you get the gist of what I'm saying. It's all exactly what's taking place right now, and it's just mind-blowing that that it's been laid out the way it is. I mean, everything's all around us. I seen somebody wrote a comment, I think it was Sassy, that wrote a comment on the last video about how they put everything in the videos for us to know, and then somebody else commented that it's some type of law that they have to, it's I believe it's a combination of both. They know, for one, they got a playbook, okay, and they believe if they do certain things, that they can bring their king, or their leader, Lucifer, They believe that they can bring him about. These are Luciferians that are behind this. And as I said, Lucifer is their god. They believe that he is the one that freed them from captivity, from bondage, from servitude. And not only that, but by subjecting us subconsciously to these things helps bring it about. And when we think about the most powerful time for us to manifest things is when we're not having intention placed on it. So that means when we don't, this is everything I keep telling you, the things that manifest for me the fastest are the things that are peripherally that I think about, like things that I think about without any emotion attached. Like when I just think about something randomly with no emotion attached to move on, I'll see that thing, doesn't matter what it is, manifest within 24 hours. And it's the things I want to manifest that I can't manifest. So it's like I said, everything's in reverse, but the most powerful tool that they have for bringing about events is by subjecting us to it while our mind is open. And that means while your conscious mind is distracted by a movie or whatever, and then the moral or the theme is imprinted on our subconscious mind, which helps to bring about that thing 10 times faster because we're accepting it for what it's being told to us as without putting intention onto it. And that's what the game is, and that's how they do this. It's magic. It's a form of magic, and language and spells, and that's a whole nother video. But I just wanted to clarify that real quick. So let me back in here. But anyway, yeah. So check out that book. But I'm gonna continue going on here. Sorry for the interruption. It's us that basically assumes the role of the negative, of the evil, and that calls it forward and embraces it. And it's through us embracing it that we rebelled against perfection or I mean, that's it, perfection. And Lucifer was basically this, the first one that in the realm of angels that basically went the opposite way of creation and took his own will. So I said Lucifer was the most beautiful angel, and the biggest and all this, and then Lucifer turned his back on God. Well, that was us taking our self-will. That was the evolution of it. And then because of that, and because of, in the book of Enoch and Jubilees and Asher and all these different, Apocrypha, it talks about how the angels taught man different spellcraft and different metallurgy and alchemy and, just all these different abilities, and during the times of the Nephilim, and when the sons of gods came into daughters of men, and da 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 da. So it was them who started these mystery schools, and it was a different sect, a better sect, but there was many different schools that were started by these gods or these angels that took the shape of physical beings and taught us, that Lucifer, what the Luciferians believe is that Lucifer is their Christ. He is their Savior. He's the one that freed them from bondage. And that's how they justify these things. That's how they're being taught, is that Lucifer is the morning star, or is Jesus. And, everything's in reverse. And there's a very thin line here with the reversals that I speak of and the reversals that they interpret it as. Because everything is in reverse, but not in the manner that has been shown to them. Because they depict it, it's been depicted to them as, they're fighting for for our souls against the authority. And that's not the case. I mean, it is the case because you got to understand, if the world was void of sin, it'd be void of us. And that's what this all comes down to, is how much do you cherish this physical life? How much do you hold on to these physical things? How much do you covet money? How much do you covet nice things? How much do you covet your children? How much do you covet your neighbor's, wife, your own life? How much do you covet these things? Because in actuality, that's all we're able to do is covet everything. The only way we can't covet is by giving it away, by giving away that thought, by giving away that consciousness. And that's the state of Christ, is when we give away the anti and become the Christ. The Christ is the void of us, of who we consider ourselves. And when you create that void has to be filled by something. So when you create that void within yourself, that void is going to be filled with the essence of what we truly are, which is perfection, love, and creation, devoid of sin. So this is, where these Luciferians got it twisted. This is where they man is ignorant, and man, is given a little bit of knowledge and thinks that he is, a king. And there are no kings except for one. And until we learn to follow that king, we will constantly be searching to fill that void with the negative versus letting the void fill itself with the essence. And I mean, I hope I'm not losing people. It's just, there's a lot to it. But this is what started all this, is these rogue angels that gave man a cause. And once we were created, they gave us a cause. And they put us on a pedestal, or certain ones of us on a pedestal, and made us feel, powerful and important by serving this cause. And it gave us, or them, stature, and a feeling as though they belonged to something, not knowing that they belong to the greatest thing of all. But in a world that we constantly feel alone in, because everybody's greatest fear is generally the fear of being alone. And they basically manipulated us into embracing this like a lifesaver, like a thing that you throw out, a life raft or whatever the hell, them circle red and white things. And that has been just basically passed down, through the ages, through these secret societies and things of that nature that have just proliferated this sense of importance and of knowledge and separation. Ultimately, it's separated this group of people from the rest of society, and they have some of the principles and some of the things that I talk about with. That's why Aleister Crowley and people like this, that's why he's, do as thou wilt. He believed in, just, sodomy and rape and torture and, all these negative things, because he believed that by destroying your consciousness or your conscious mind, or the thing that, in Pinocchio, Jiminy Cricket or whatever the hell, by destroying your conscious mind is freedom, because that is what holds us trapped, is your conscience. So when your conscience, not your conscious, your conscience, but when your conscience is destroyed, we're no longer able to judge ourselves, creating karma. And that's what I mean. He was, it was known that he was, into all this magic, black magic, and involved with the whole Windsor, with the kings and Prince of Wales and all this other bullshit, the crown. It was known that he was involved, with secret societies. He's got the famous picture, wearing the Mason's hat and all this stuff. And that right there is the epitome of what this secret knowledge, so-called, that they hold is. That is somebody that took that knowledge to the extreme, trying to understand it. And he died a broken man. He died a broken man that regretted everything that he did. He died a very sad and lonely man that never found what he was looking for. Of course, he didn't find what he was looking for because he had been lied to, and the biggest joke was on him. And ultimately it comes down to, like with George Washington, he was a Mason. Apotheosis is the famous depiction in the cathedral in the Capitol building, and it's him becoming a god, the transformation of man to God. That's what they're all trying to do, is to live forever, all these things. And the thing that they're not grasping is that they're trying to do all these things consciously. They're trying to perform these spells. They're trying to do. If you've ever read the books by Dan Brown, the Da Vinci Code series, The Lost Symbol was probably my favorite book out of that whole series, and that is based on realistic things. With where he finds the hand in the Capitol building, in the beginning, and the introduction to School of Mysteries, and then School of Noetics and all this stuff. That whole book is an unbelievable read. And then it has this guy, whatever the hell the guy's name is, it starts with an M. And through the whole book, he turns into like this monster type person that infiltrates the Freemasons and gets all these tattoos and shaves his teeth down and takes his dagger and gets these tattoos on the top of his head in a circle, trying to do all these things by different alignments and all. Like there's that's depicting like real ceremonies and real things. Like that's real, and it's this ancient knowledge perverted with a complete lack of understanding. And I didn't mean to take it so far down this path, but a lot of people don't understand this, and I didn't even understand this until I was shown these things. But this is where this whole struggle comes in, and this is where this is where people get lost, because like I said, everything is in reversals, but not physically. And that's where, not consciously, it's got to be applied subconsciously. They're taking the reversals and applying them physically through consciousness, through cognitive, waking, breathing, thinking thought. The thought that I'm speaking to you with right now, when I'm thinking, when it's precognitive, and they're trying to apply it, like I said, through consciousness. These reversals apply the opposite. They apply internally, spiritually. And that's why in the Bible it speaks about, those who are meek at heart, those who are poor at heart. All these things that Jesus preached and spoke about was all reversals. They were all parables. All parables is all reversals. It's all, it's all depicting a physical thing to show the opposite meaning spiritually. And if you go through and read what's in the Bible, you'll start noticing that. And there's a lot to it, and I'm gonna try to start elaborating on more things like this, in my upcoming videos, rather than just talking about what you see as the end result to all this. I'm gonna start trying to break it down so people can understand all this stuff. But getting back to the point, what I was saying, there's going to be a period coming up very shortly, like I said, within the next year. DEF CON approximation 365. It's very, it's cut and dry. I mean, I was given the last couple pieces of the puzzle. Like, I'm sure there'll be more to come after this to add on to, but it's safe to say that this is DEF CON approximation 365. This didn't come. I didn't think of this. This didn't come from me. This was given to me. Okay, this was given to me. This didn't come from me. So, it's just getting back to what I was saying. We need to learn how to now apply our spiritual armor. We need to learn how to use our spiritual armor. We need to learn how to apply these things. And I mean, there's no other way to say it. We need to learn how to get our spiritual armor. That's it. I mean, and our spiritual armor does not come from our conscious self. Our spiritual armor comes from our spirit. And I guess I've been talking for a long time. All right, I had to throw this in here. So as you can see down here, it says 807. These were done 817. This one right here is the one we're recording right now. It's 1144. See 1144. So that one, this one right here is today. This one right here is the one I just finished right here. 817, 23, 10, 21. 817, 23, 10, 21. That's the one I just finished on. It's at the end here. And this is the one from the video that I just posted before this one. Just wrapping up the other ones. So these were done the 5th, the 7th, and the 8th. Well, the 27th, the 5th, the 7th, and the 8th. So that just gives you an idea how many days it took me to get this done. But anyway, so it talks about, coming up, you're going to hear talking about the Great Purifier and all these things that, in this Skywatch Media presentation that was just posted, within the last 2 days. I think it was posted yesterday. So, I had this posted, I had this written down, and I had this posted before he made that video and put it out. So let me just read through these real quick and break it down. So the vision that I had that I wrote down: Kushner, Antichrist, images of destruction, a black horse, streamlined, coming towards me on the left side, one eye with half crescent shape. Underneath it looks like the Eclipse vision I had. DEF CON 1, approximation 365. First of all, guy said it's going to be questioned. There's going to be questions. Bread, Eucharist, water purifying tablets, gift of gab, VeggieTales, round bales of hay, eternal flame, pre-town's post, Nantucket nectar, wasn't sure, sigil wolf, go away, run away, fisheye. Now, the sigil wolf, that's another thing I meant to cover that I forgot about. So, I keep having this wolf. Now, when I first started having these visions, when you read my book, it talks about, I had these visions and I met this woman called Talking Hawk, after the hawk hit me in the face and, all this stuff. So anyway, she's a shaman. And as I was talking to her, now this is in the first the infancy of my, discovering this ability. So she told me one thing that I'll never forget, and she said, she's seen a picture of me, and she said, I see a wolf when I look in your eyes, the Wolf Clan, and you're going to come to know the sick. I said, well, does that mean something bad? Like, what the hell does that mean? She's like, no. She said, Brother Wolf is, a very smart and, cunning teacher and all this stuff, and something about, a wolf clan and a wolf being one of my totems, and how wolves represent, strong family bonds and, all this stuff. But she said that it the the meaning is going to make itself known to you, and just this whole thing. And then immediately following that, I've had Siberian Huskies my whole life, wolves. So my first one's name was Charlie. He was pure white. And funny enough, in his visions that I wrote down, I had a vision of a white wolf come to me. I've been thinking of Charlie lately, but his vision of a white wolf come to me. And then it started with a white wolf, and then it ended with a sigil wolf. A sigil is like a ward, or like a sigil is like a totem. Okay, a totem. So at the end, I had sigil wolf, and then this wolf thing keeps everywhere. A commercial just came on TV as I was telling my wife about this, and I don't know if you've seen it yet. It was a smoking commercial. The big bad wolf standing out in the street. He's trying to huff and puff and blow the houses down, but he has no breath because he can't. He's a smoker and he can't blow the houses down. It's a smoking commercial. I was like, what the hell is up with these wolves? So wolves keep popping up, and just so many things. I mean, so many other things, but wolves. So then in the Bible, the verse that used to say that the lion and the lamb, there's been ministries based on it, lion and the lamb ministries, where the lion, in the end, the lion shall lay down with the lamb, and, Well, that's been changed due to the Mandela effect. It's now the lion and the wolf. The lion shall lay down with the wolf. And, just so many things. So anyway, that's, I just thought that was, of significant relevance. And then something I was watching the other day about sigil magic and how, all this crap with sigils, after I had this vision. So then the other part in here, it says that I had seen water purifying tablets, as in purifying bread Eucharist. Eucharist is, where they give the bread and the wine for, Jesus' body and blood. And then the water purifying tablets. And then in this video coming up, it talks about, he's talking about, and then I made it a point to, say that the purification of the Hopi prophecy, the blue kachina and the red kachina. So the great purifier, water purifying tablets. Like, just all these things. Each one of these things means something symbolically. And that's the importance of writing this stuff down as it comes. Once you clear your mind, you start getting a stream of data. It's a message. It's words. It's not just mumbo jumbo. So this black horse streamline coming towards me on the left side, one eye with half crescent shape. I mean, I already know what all this stuff means. Just look at the things for symbolically what they mean, and I mean, it's just pretty mind blowing. And then at the end, the fish eye. As in, Jesus was represented as a fish, and Jesus watching, or all this stuff about the Antichrist, and then fisheye. And I have a little depiction here I drew of how I seen it, and there's an eye with a reverse crescent before it, and just Just blew my mind. I was just going through listening, doing my editing, and I heard, this purification thing, and I'm like, holy shit! I did this before this video came with the purification, So, all right, that's it. Okay, I just want to throw this in here real quick. Picking up. So I'm just going to try to put everything back together.
If and when things begin to go south.
So just watch this quick.
The Nibiru Nemesis system is closing in on Earth. And evidence suggests that Nibiru and its adjoining moon are the red and blue Kachina, just as the Hopi Indian nation had described it in their prophecies, and also in their address to the United Nations towards the end of the 20th century. Its meaning is as powerful today as it was back then.
The first people in the spirit of our ancestors are giving you loud warnings. This is from the Hopi. If humans do not wake up to the warnings, the great purification will come to destroy this world just as the previous worlds were destroyed. I mean, it's pretty obvious, and that's what I talk about my spirit guides and all this stuff that's been happening.
Is the blue Kachina of Hopi prophecy coming to fruition? There have been recent sightings of its presence in the sky. These images of what looks to be an exoplanet photographed over Perth, Western Australia on August 2nd.
Perth. Now, funny enough, in my one video where I list the string of visions that I had the vision of Perth. Remember I said P-orth. I wasn't sure it was P-E-R-T-H, and then it ended up being a rune as well, which meant Wheel of Fortune. I talked about this, I think it was back in February, maybe March, and I was talking about this Perth thing that came up with Australia and the something Sun Gazette or something like that, and after this whole string of visions that I had. Go back and watch that video if you don't remember, because it's pretty coincidental, but here we go.
Would seem to indicate that something of great significance is approaching, as the Hopi nation had prophesied would come upon us in the latter days to cleanse and purify the earth. These images are incredibly similar to ones captured from Argentina on August 3rd. If this is the blue star according to prophecy, then its fulfillment will come to pass. This is also why the Vatican's Lucifer telescope is watching the encroaching system. Just think about this for a moment. What purpose does the monitoring of the heavens by the Catholic hierarchy play in their future prospects, if not to help in their survival? There are some in the Planet X community of prognosticators who, through their own formula for observation and time analysis, have concluded that 2017 will be the year of the comet, the planet that Carlos Ferrata called the Comet Planet. So much emphasis has been placed.
I also have talked to the guy who makes Skywatch Media and told him of these visions and all the things to come, and told him of this comet that I seen in the vision. Now, I'm going to let it finish.
On the great sign in the heavens. Not only is it getting brighter, but it is also getting closer, almost as if it had developed a wingspan. There is nothing outside of our sun that outshines the presence of this planet. Therefore, something is beginning to take shape that has many of us bewildered and confused, because we can't put a time frame on when the great changes will come to fruition here on planet Earth. The increased magnitude of anomalies are an indication that great changes are happening from the sky. The presence of extraordinary beams of light, called anti-crepuscular rays, that appear from the opposite direction of the sun, has sparked much interest, as reports of their appearance continue. Take a look at this video capture from early August 2017 as these beams of light appear from the east during sunset, with the moon as a backdrop. There are strange things happening on this planet that have yet to be fully explained. Rivers turning to blood is a phenomenon that some say is a sign of the end of days as described in the Old Testament, or even an indication of the effects of climate change where harmful toxins have infiltrated the waterways, causing them to become impure. Whatever the cause, it has become much more prevalent now with severe implications for the wildlife that inhabits these bodies of water. Take a look at the Babylon River in Sumatra as it turns blood red on August the 7th, killing thousands of fish. And Brazil, causing many to fear that in South America, the ocean mysteriously receded from the beaches across Uruguay and Brazil, causing many to fear that a tsunami was on its way. On August 11th, the water disappeared in Punta del Este, Uruguay, as shown in these images. Several hours later, on August the 12th, the same strange phenomenon occurred along the beaches in Porto Alegre in Brazil. Ocean waters recede ahead of a tsunami, which provides a warning to those in harm's way to move inland to safer locations. So when people observed this phenomenon, it was totally understandable that they would fear the arrival of a massive wave. With no apparent signs of a large quake or tsunami in these locations, such widespread receding of the ocean is unprecedented and very worrisome. The phenomena continues along the coast of Brazil, where on August 13th, the waters receded for a considerable distance in this coastal community, as shown here. While historical receding is occurring along the Atlantic side of South America, the Pacific side is experiencing huge waves crashing ashore, as shown here in Chile. It may be that these phenomenal events are linked. Most disconcerting is the possibility that the oceans working in opposition could be a sign of a pole shift in the works.
In the next 45 seconds, I'm going to...
So sick of seeing Becker. Okay. So, for one, with that, the ocean receding and rising on opposing sides, common sense would tell you that if the Earth was being pulled in a direction that it's not typically pulled in, it would cause the water to recede on one side and for it to slingshot around on the other. What is capable of having that type of pull on the Earth? Maybe a giant magnet. With this eclipse that's coming, the beginning of this video was
you how we took a brand new e-commerce Shopify store from 0 to 200.
It was based on
improvements. What is the real elements?
this whole
In other
government
words, a
preparing
horrific
for
event
black
that would be
skies.
considered
The Black
to be
Skies
outside the
operation
realm
that's
of
coming.
human influence. As it turns out, the United States. I've provided a link in the description area on.
So the government's preparing for this black sky event. Kind of ironic. Our infrastructure is in a complete state of disarray and collapse. And funny that my old house, we live probably 20 miles from a nuclear reactor. And my old house, they went through within, 2 years ago, within, a couple months, and put hard wires, I mean big, giant steel telephone wires, running from the nuclear reactor to, I really don't know where they went. But that's the only time I've seen any type of, update to the infrastructure in this area. And, it's just, is it coincidental that, they put these huge hard wires to the nuclear reactor up, just 2 years ago in preparation? But, I mean, that's neither here nor there. That was just, a little afterthought. But, going back to these visions that I had with the Antichrist and all this stuff with Trump. Okay, it's a well-known fact that Kushner is Trump's, basically, he's the one calling shots. He's the one that's in Trump's ear. Trump has charged him with making peace in the world, and this, that, and the third, and one of his most trusted advisors, and there's all this stuff going on with him meeting with the Russians, and all this crap that they're saying. But the fact is that this Kushner character is one of Trump's most trusted advisors. Not only that, but for some reason he purchased his building in New York on Fifth Ave just happens to be 666, and a number of other things. But this whole war that's going on with North Korea, this war that we're about to be in, with them saying the attack is imminent on Guam and all this stuff. In my vision that I talked about when the comet was coming, I talk about how there was this snake that split the screen in half, and there was a clearing through the trees where I seen military men with like mortars that were wearing like green military outfits. Now, as I think about it, these military outfits were green like Vietnam. It was like an old Vietnam type element to it. It reminded me of Vietnam. Now, where is North Korea? Ironically enough, and just all these things that coincide. Every single thing that has been in these visions that I've had has manifested. Every single thing has come. And I often look for, these things that confirm my visions. Like, everything that's in them has to be accounted for 100%. This isn't like I'm taking these random events and trying to, make a story up that goes with it. If these things don't fit 100%, then it doesn't fit. Like, for example, if the military men were wearing, purple, and then that represents England or something, then it would have to be but it wasn't. It was the green, Vietnam. It reminded me of Vietnam, and it just so happens, that's where this conflict is at now. So, as I said, I seen this, whole vision of, this comet and all these things to come. So, I guess we're going to know here in a couple days, with this eclipse, what's to come with that. But regardless, there's a lot of things taking place right now. A lot of things taking place, and I wanted to quickly talk about this this vision I had the other night. So the other night I'm laying in bed, and I was trying to fall asleep, and I had this quick rush of visions, and I asked, who is it that's talking to me? Who is it that's giving me these visions? And who is it that's protecting me and that watches out for me in all these situations? And I instantly had this vision of a horse. Now, the reason that's significant to me is because the last time I seen my father was, at a supervised visit at Children and Youth. And there was this horse pasture right next door, and we cooked burgers, and there was this horse there that, has been there for years. I don't know if he's still there, but he had been there for like 20 some years, like as long as I can remember. This horse, it was just one lone horse. We called him Mr. Ed. He was in this pasture, this little pasture, and this, it was a gray horse. And we were feeding the horse, and we were hanging out. We cooked burgers, and the horse was like the theme of this visit. Like, we're just hanging out, cooking burgers, and hanging out with this horse. And I asked the other night, who is this that's speaking to me? Who, where's this coming from? And I immediately got this vision of a horse. And I thought to myself, what does a horse represent to me? As I, tell you guys how to decipher this stuff. And immediately, that's my first thought that came to my head, was my last visit with my father. And I was just half in tears, just astonished, like, oh my God, like, wow, like, unbelievable. So I was given my confirmation, and there's been many other things throughout the years, but, this was right after I had watched this this Hollywood Medium show with that kid that does, all the stuff. And I was watching how he was doing his readings, and I was like, that's the exact same way that I get my messages. But the only difference is I don't talk to dead people. I don't talk to spirits. I talk to, like, God. I don't know. I talk to, like, the source. I just never really tried, I guess, to speak to spirits. And I guess, I don't know what, something was released or something. I asked, a clear question: who are you? Like, who is this? And I was given that answer. So that just blew my mind. So I went and told my wife about it. I'm like, this is just gonna add to the crazy list of stuff. But listen to this. So I told her about it, and she was like, she wasn't surprised. But it never ceases to amaze me. So anyway, there was a whole lot more stuff that went on with this, and then these horse synchronicities and all this stuff kept happening, with the horse. And then the spiral in the bale of hay, as I said in that vision with the comet, how I had this spiral come up out of the water, which would be emotion. Water would represent, emotions in a vision. This spiral came up out of the water and, like, went into me and, like, lifted me up off the ground. And as I said, this bale of hay had the spiral in it that I was just talking about earlier. So, it's with the horse and the spiral and the emotions, and it was a personal message for me. But it's just like, there's no way that these things present themselves in the manner that they do, and then check out absolute. Like with that video that I was showing in the last video that I just posted, with the part in Linda Moulton Howe's presentation, where it was, talking about the message and all this stuff. Well, right after that scene, there's a scene where it talks about this, how the one coordinate leads to Germany, and how there was this great battle in the skies, in the 1800s or whatnot, how this, black spear or whatever was in the sky for hours, and there was this big UFO fight, and it's depicted in pictures and all this other stuff. That happened on April 4th. that's my birthday. And you know, it's just things like that just pop out to me. I'm like, holy shit! Like the chances of them being coincidental are nil or none. Like I said, 44 is my number. That's my numerology. It's my everything. You know, I'm a four. I'm a four, and so this 44. You know, a lot of times like I'll be, you know, I'll see something and I'll be like, no, can it be? And then I'll look at the clock and it'll be 4:44. And it's like, yes, you know, there's no, you know, ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's just how it works. It's all, you know, you got to understand, nothing's by coincidence. Every single little event, everything that happens to you, this has all happened before. So we have, you know, once you start, you know, tapping into this, you start seeing things before they happen. You start being able to to see the lag in manifestation. And you know, it's just amazing. I mean, there's just so many manifestations and so many confirmations and so much stuff every day that I just, you know, I can't remember it all. And I've been trying to write stuff down, and you know, it's just, to me at this point, it's like I don't have to prove it to anybody. Like it's just it just, what it does is it solidifies my faith, and it makes it that much more prevalent and stronger for me. So I'm trying not to be selfish with this information, and I'm trying to give it, you know, give it away, and I'm trying to do the best that I can to get it out to other people, you know, to interpret and, you know, take with it, to do as you will. Um, you know, it's just, there's so much to this. I'm going to wrap this up, and going to try to post another video here shortly, basically jumping right into to how to start, you know, utilizing these abilities, because it's becoming urgent. And you know, I'm not doom and gloom, and you know, these titles, you know, coming invasion and stuff like that. I mean, this isn't fear mongering. This is what I've been shown. I mean, if you want to consider it fear mongering, then be scared. You can either be scared, or you can get a plan and take the information and use it for, you know, what it's intended for. It's intended for people to basically, you know, understand that you know, everything isn't going to be, you know, roses. It's not going to be just, you know, this clear straight path. I mean, we have over 7 billion people on the planet. We're so overpopulated. We're cutting the trees down at a rate that they can't reproduce fast enough. We breathe in as the trees breathe out, and vice versa. That's how we're alive. You know, there's over 200 animal species that go extinct every single day. Google it. There's just so much stuff. The weather, that, everything. We are a parasite on this earth. And as it said in the Hopi prophecy, the great purifier comes around and purifies every so many thousand years. And, you know, whether you make it through this point in time or not, you know, it depends totally on your spiritual fitness. And, you know, that is ultimately the goal of what I'm trying to get to. You know, I try to post as many supporting factors as I can. I try to give as much background information, much scientific data, as much this, as much that, for all the naysayers and the non-believers and the people that are on the fence, and, you know, this, that, and the third. But, you know, honestly, it's past that now. I mean, we're getting into the crucial point in time. Everything's coming to a head. I know, you know, people have been saying, you know, the end, the sky is falling for years. Okay, I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them. I admit that I have been, you know, sucked into that whole, you know, fear mongering, pollutant bull crap. You know, back in, you know, a couple years ago, 2012, the whole 2012 scare and everything. You know, before I had the ability that I have now. You know, just hearing things that I heard, you know, this, that, and the third, da 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 da, you know, I did fall into a little bit, and then I was, you know, real quickly, I was redirected and taken by the hand and shown exactly what is to come, who we are, what it is that we're headed for, and, you know, how we better ourselves. And, you know, this isn't something that's you know, specific to me. This is something that you guys can do as well. This isn't, just me, thinking that I'm special or trying to have some type of ego. This is none of that. This is, my experience, my testament to the things that have happened to me that are incredible, that are possible for you as well. I know a lot of you have abilities, and a lot of you, see patterns, and you just haven't been able to quite grasp it yet because it's very elusive. The tighter you squeeze, the further it goes away from you. I mean, everything's reverse. You got to give it away to get it, and saying, I'm not trying to speak in riddles, but giving it away to get it is by not, you got to understand, directing conscious will towards this will push it away. So you got to learn to give that conscious will up. We all have the Christ within us. The Christ, the Redeemer, the true essence of Christ, because we are all Christ. We are all have the essence of Christ within us. We all have the potential of Christ within us, which is our subconscious, or our connection to the Father. That is, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, this whole thing. And we all have that within us, as well as we all have an anti-Christ within us, which is our conscious mind. But being through the context that it's being used in, within Scripture, with and Nostradamus and all these things, antichrists being individuals who embraced that conscious will of Antichrist, just as Christ embraced the Christ conscious of love and the things that he represents. The same being for entities that embraced the anti, which is the self-will, run riot type, power. So the positive and the negative, the yin and the yang. But I'll speak more about that in upcoming videos. Again, I apologize for all this stuff being so scattered and pieced together, but like I said, I did this over a couple days, and it's just, it is what it is. Anybody has any questions, type them in the comments below. I'm going to try, like I said, for the next video to keep everything wrapped together a little bit more tightly. Stay vigilant, stay tuned.